Welcome to Between the Lines in our next segment on our AI series with Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the world's leader. Really a tremendous team, a tremendous work, and they're a tremendous resource for AI all around the world. Partnerships. I was thinking about it last night when I looked at something with NVIDIA. I don't know how it came up, but it talked about their gaming back in the early, it could have been 2004, 5, 6, when they made the trip to ORNL, and they learned and they expanded. So it's really, ORNL has touched so much of the world. And Edmon's here today with us to talk about security risks, which is really what I'm interested in, and all of the things and the potentials. And I've pretty much brought it up with everybody. I just think people are interested in, everything from hacking to singularity to anything that could possibly happen in the world, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a much more functional aspect of it too that is so important. Welcome. You've been in our, we usually spend the first few minutes talking about your background. We've talked a little bit. Wonderful country in Croatia. You come from that part of the world. A lot of people do. Bright people, tough people, strong people. I mean, I've interviewed people all over the world, and it's just different cultures and different things. Is that part of the world caught up in technology as much as other parts? Is it? I don't really follow much in that far out.
It is. So first, I'm going to say one thing that most people don't know, but a little fact about Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, where I came from.
Right.
So most people don't know that in World War II, the largest liberated territory in Europe, size about Switzerland or more, during the Nazi occupation of Europe was in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavian defense or resistance movement held the largest liberated territory in the world within all the Nazi sphere. So just to say that as a little thing. And so,
when did Tito take power?
He took power during the war.
In World War II?
World War II,
Okay,
yeah.
you're
Started
right.
in 1941 in Yugoslavia in
Yeah.
June 22nd, I believe. And then during that war, he rose as a leader, meritocratic leader of the partisan movement. But after war, he also took political power and stayed in power since the 1980.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, I studied in the 70s, and I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and I can remember he was. And there was generally some of Franco in Spain. There were a lot of individuals who became kind of the centers and heads of their country. Controversial, but at the same time effective, and did a lot of different things. Let me ask you this personally: has the war between Russia and Ukraine impacted that area of the world?
Not directly that I know, except that there is, of course, alignment with one side more or the other.
Yeah.
I think what impacted the most is that it's for most of us, I know the war started because I was there throughout the war. When the war started, it was for most of us like history repeated from the 90s. Ukrainian war had almost all the signs or signature characteristics of the war in the Balkans in the 90s in terms of civilian deaths, destruction, brutality, sheer size of the conflict. Victor Orban said earlier, like, when Slavs start fighting each other, you don't want to get involved.
That's exactly
right.
right.
I mean, my war was, in terms of the largest war since the World War II, except for the Ukrainian-Russian war now.
Oh, and it's just, I studied it in a little bit in the 90s for a project, and it was absolutely, people don't realize, there wasn't a lot of coverage of it in terms of TV every day here like there is, and like maybe with Russia and Ukraine, but the violence was incredible, and we were just talking about how when certain elements like the Soviet Union or Tito or other things break up, there's a scramble for power, and it's usually ethnic, and it's just different in that situation. What got you into AI? Was your background mathematics?
My background is in computer science in general, but honestly what got me into AI was curiosity. It's the fascination by the first human mind and understanding, which of course we don't really fully understand how human mind works, but it started even before in elementary school, but specifically in high school when we studied logic and psychology in addition to technical fields, and I'm trying to understand the mind, and then fascination with AI, which after I came to the United States, which was really mid-90s, I started studying computer science, and that's what got me. Ever since I got fascinated by AI. Interesting thing to tell you is, up until 2000, maybe 12, talking that you're into AI in any kind of general technical setting, people would look at you like you are like a fantasy gamer or something like that.
That's what I've been saying. It's relatively new. Yeah.
Like you're coming and saying, like, what do you do for job? Oh, I read sci-fi novels. That was that level of people taking AI seriously. Where now it's probably the hottest field that I've ever seen anywhere.
It touches everything, right?
Yeah.
It's going so fast.
Yeah. And I do want to give credit I really credit to Oak Ridge National Lab. Absolutely fantastic institution that lets any of us enthusiasts who are also serious about what we do, giving us opportunity to pursue what we want to pursue. I mean, that's beside my own interest in it, it's really was Oak Ridge National Lab.
And that's a research lab. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the very nature of
Yeah.
what y'all do. And my father worked there from 43 to
Yeah.
79, and I'm just very familiar with it and grew up around it. Your specialization. Let me go back a little bit here. You have family?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You got family. You live. Where do you live in East Tennessee?
No, right here in Oxford.
Oh, do you really? Great, fantastic. Okay, let's get that in. One of our neighbors. Okay, so we have ORNL, and they're kind of taking a bigger role. We're kind of, and this is part of my world too, but we're reacting to the Genesis project, which ironically kind of stays in speed with everything else. Everything's going faster. We got to do it better with, et cetera, et cetera. But you're the one guy who has to continually ask the questions. We still got to do it safely.
Yeah.
And
securely, really.
That's a better word.
Yes.
Yeah, in your situation. But to people out here, safely works, but securely is a better word.
And I will explain later, if you wish, the difference between safety and security a little bit.
I do want. I do want the public to know that, and I think it's very important. I mean, everybody's familiar with their bank account getting hacked into, right? Somebody in Iran, somebody in China, somebody somewhere in the world, all over the world. To be fair to everybody, somebody's hacking. They're making money hacking into accounts, and I know at my bank, which is the biggest bank in East Tennessee, probably, they haven't kept up. I mean, there's another hack every 4 or 5 months. I mean, the technology's outrunning the security, if that's a fair statement. But that's kind of an introduction to where we are in computing and science and hacking, and that we're constantly fighting and battling to protect our resources and the things that we understand. Now we're in a little bit bigger world. We're talking about using AI in the nuclear front and the AI in the security front, military front especially. Palantir and other major corporations, not to single anybody else, are advancing things quickly. And how in Oak Ridge, let's just start here, in Oak Ridge, in the nuclear renaissance, in this corridor that we're working in, what is the greatest security challenges? What are we really worried about?
So there are practical security challenges, which means the challenges that we face every day, and then there are challenges that my team and I are addressing, and these are challenges related to AI security. So I'm going to come back to these. But first, in a practical terms, cybersecurity still remains a challenge number one.
Sure.
The reason why I say this is because we have physical security measures put in place to protect facilities here that we know, and you can see them, you can understand them. People go through military service, get very well equipped and trained to actually provide physical security in various different forms. Cybersecurity is still the area that cat and mouse game goes on, and in the cybersecurity, you still have an option to have somebody who does not have any facilities, any logistics, can still be a cybersecurity threat. So I still consider that a number one threat.
Okay.
We are focusing on AI security threats, and I can spend some time explaining why is that, but just to give you a little equivalent or a little story so I started my career in the mid-90s. I worked in the late 90s at a company called Lucent Technologies. Lucent Technology at the time was the company who built the fabric of the internet. Okay, they were they were owners of the Bell Labs. This is where all the innovation for network communications came from. In those days, our biggest goal was to get networking enabling components out, software, hardware, and not just us, Cisco and other internet companies. Lucent did have a mindset of security, but security was concerned with this much. Drive to develop and innovate in internet space was the rest.
Sure.
Very few people in general technology community worried about things like, well, is my operating system secure for somebody getting and hacking into it? Really, that wasn't part of thinking. It was just, let's get things out. We observed then that certain entities were working on like having cyber warfare operation, and many people were like, what's the cyber warfare operation all about? I'm still trying to figure out how to install my operating system, how to get my monitor working and being connected to AOL. Fast. Seriously, like how do I connect to internet with AOL? Nobody was thinking, how do I break into my computer and steal my bank account? Well, now that's a $1 trillion challenge across the world, and we still grapple with it. Our focus with AI security is to not repeat the same mistake again, that we don't pay attention to some important elements, although niche. So by the time we have over-deployed everything, we have holes everywhere, left and right.
Right.
But again, I say all this that this is what I'm focusing on, but I still recognize that cybersecurity is still paramount, and we still need to do more. I think we do a lot. Lot needs to be done. More investment, more education, more workforce, more awareness by the public, and so on. So that's why I'm saying I still consider cyber threats the number one threats, at least in
Are we
domain
basically
ownership.
talking about coders trying to outfox coders? That basically coders on the other side are trying to figure a way to get inside what our company's coders have done or whoever.
Yeah.
And basically it's just a kind of a cyber battle between brilliant minds.
It's a great question. It's a great question, and I'm trying to summarize the answer to kind of provide in a couple of tiers. So, in some instances, you don't have to be a coder to be a cyber threat. You
Okay.
don't have to write your own cyber exploit in order to be a threat. You can buy it from somebody else.
Okay.
You can
That
be
makes
a
sense.
high school kid, a criminal, a organized criminal, a state entity, and either outsource or procure cyber exploits and be effective. Or you can be a coder and figure out how to break things and also act as a cyber threat. That's what makes things complicated, because it's very democratized in terms of who and what that cyber threat is and how can you become one. You know, so but in general, and to answer your specific question, cyber coders outsourcing cyber, not necessarily coders, but cyber defenders, yes, at a technical level, but at the organizational level is this threat outsmarting defenders. And like I said, threat can have multiple different forms. It doesn't need to be it just need to be coders.
Is the challenge from specific, obviously you can do it from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is there better developed cyber threats? In other words, are there areas of the world where people are more focused on doing these types of things? Obviously in the defense world, you
Yeah.
get it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about any business world, defense world, anywhere, are we constantly having to defend, what's a good way to look at it? Different types, like different languages or different, are the threats somewhat aligned or are they all uniquely different?
These are excellent questions, and I'm just trying to see within an hour or within 10
No,
minutes
go
or
what
3
you got.
minutes
Do
to
it.
answer a
Just
question.
do what you got. Well,
This is a really challenging area. I'll explain why. You can be a major, big country with lots of investment and have a massive cyber offensive infrastructure and be very effective against other defense infrastructure, companies, government entities. That's one form of threat. You can also be a small group that operates some kind of criminal entity anywhere in the world where they decide, you know what, like it's too complicated for us to go and try to, hijack ships or rob banks. Why don't we go and hire one computer science major who is the awesome coder and have him or her implement for us cyber exploits and deploy it. And it can be anywhere in the world. That's the problem is that practically it's very hard to characterize the cyber threat because it can be anywhere and it can be organized by anybody. If you look at it practically, cyber threats are either associated with the well-known state level threats or with certain very well organized cyber threat groups that can be almost like either contract operators or they can do on their own. Like when you think about, for a few years ago, ransomware, when somebody goes and locks down your database and say, in order for us to lock down your business critical database or to give your data back, you need to pay us $50 million or something like that. And that's a organized
I haven't heard
crime.
much about that lately.
Yeah, because I think the major answer that, like I said, I live in a cyber world, but I'm focusing on AI security, so I can give you partial answer. I cannot give a complete answer since I'm not as briefed as somebody else. I think the major answer to that was, the reason why ransomware was so effective is because people were not really diligent about those particular areas of protecting databases and changing passwords and making sure, because it's really a simple thing to execute ransomware attack. You encrypt a source and say, I have keys. Give me money, I'll give you keys back.
Yeah.
And I think that was mostly mitigated, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I work in the energy world locally, and I'm with an engineering firm. I'll bet 10 or 15 minutes a day I get fishware education or controls. I mean, it's constantly pouring in. Take this training, do this, take this training. So I think people are more aware of it and more diligent. And of course, we're dealing with much better, more important stuff probably than some of that stuff. How is ORNL with the things that you're doing? You're helping other countries and other corporations and everybody learn how to do these things, become more.
So I specifically am in a AI security area. I lead the center called Center for AI Security Research. We are at the, I sometimes use this term, we are not at the bleeding edge, we are at the abyss. We don't even have a ground to stand on. We are inventing new ground in AI security.
That's exciting.
It is exciting, but the interesting thing, I told this Amir and my colleagues, Amir is he's the research lead in the center. I said, people like to talk about visionaries like it's a great thing. We are visionaries, and it's an uncomfortable thing. It's exciting, uncomfortable. I'll tell you why. Because sometimes when I talk about these topics, I get lots of blank stares because people don't even yet know how to use AI. And here we're talking about, we need to secure and protect either our AI or from AI being exploited or AI used as a tool to attack us. Yeah. And so in that space, that's my specialty. We are visionaries, but I don't say this braggadociously. I say this as like most people don't even know what we're talking about. And so when it comes to like funding and support, I am eternally grateful to ORNL, National Security Directorate, and Mo Khalil, who are our backers, who are believing us and support us. We now do get funding and work to do what we do, but initially it was very much like out of nowhere, So that's my world, and it's cool, exciting, and uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. When it comes to cyber defenses and educating others, ORNL has an excellent tiers of cyber defense groups that do education defenses. That's more within Chris Ferguson, who's our CIO, who runs a fantastic cyber defense shop. And then we also have our own cyber defense research groups where we have a whole division dedicated to it to do, and it all covers everything. Covers from implementing state-of-the-art tools, doing original research and advancing the state of science in cyber defenses, all the way to educating public companies and partners and so on.
Well, part of the working in the abyss kind of faucet and looking in all things are possible. Where are we going? I think of it from an existential viewpoint, but the whole thing is that, do you have directives? Do you have tasks? Is there any structure to it? I mean, like, here's the challenge that's coming out of Columbia, here's the challenge that's coming out of Alaska, wherever. Basically, we need you to figure out what this threat is and how bad. Do you have specific tasks, or are you just researching into the abyss?
So I'm trying to answer this question in a non-braggadocious way. We are the think tank or expert center that's actually informing technically the community how the threats would look like. That was maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, because most people didn't even think about the threats. And I can tell you history how we got to that point. And then now I think there is a broader understanding, and so there is a level of national tasks. So we do have tasks that we align with, but really, and again, I don't know how else to say it. It was 2018 for the first time we identified 4 areas of the threats related to AI that we started identifying, and that made it into all kinds of important.
Can you define those 4 threats, or are they classified?
No. These are not classified threats. Really, if you to think about like what becomes sensitive is how does one take some of these techniques and turn them into something that you actually do. But at the highest level, the 4 areas of AI security threats are what's called adversarial perturbations. Okay, what it means is that you can take an image or anything that gets into AI system as an input, modify it in a very intelligent way, and make this AI system get confused.
Yes.
So if you're going through biometric screening and somebody wants to make sure that you're the right passenger getting into plane and you have a passport picture, you can alter that passport picture in such a way that is imperceptible to human eye, but AI may read this passport picture and say, oh, this is person X instead of person Y, and person Y is person of interest. You don't want that person applying.
That's right.
So that's a whole family of adversarial perturbations. Another type is what's called data poisoning, and it means that you're training AI on lots of data. We hear that AI is very data hungry. You need to train it on training data, bunch of texts and images and so on. Well, you can get into supply chain of that data and do something to this data in such a way that AI think it's trained on the think. I'm saying this for general public.
Sure.
AI think it's making right decisions, but it has been corrupted from the source. And that's a very difficult challenge to deal with, because AI is usually trained on petabytes and petabytes, billions and billions and billions of volumes of documents. Trying to figure that one out is very difficult. So that's the second range of threats. The 2 other ones, I'm just going to quickly go through it, is that if the model is trained on the data, there are certain techniques how you can get actually, let's say that model is, this is one of the reasons why I got into this field. Before this threat was even defined, I can tell you the story how we get to the point, but like, we were working on some really sensitive healthcare data, and we were training models. And as we were training these models to make important decisions, the question was like, what if we give this model to somebody without giving them the sensitive data? Can they go and what's called invert the model and actually learn private properties of the data? And we did not know the answer, that nobody knew. We started thinking through it, and actually, original research came out of Cornell and Census Bureau. The answer was yes, you can. You can invert the model so you can recover. So we didn't give those models out, of course.
That's correct.
But that's this model inversion problem. And then the fourth problem is that, and this is more commercially relevant, but also in security relevant. You could, in some instances for attacker, let's say that you have an AI that is deployed in a cyber defense realm. In other words, there's an AI that sits and looks into all network traffic, and you want to make sure that it detects malware from normal software. Well, attacker would then want to know, what is this AI made of? Not necessarily to steal private data, but just to learn how it works so it can circumvent it. So that's a fourth area of attack, and that is you can go and do the kind of model recovery, understanding inside workings, and then attacker can circumvent that AI because it knows how it works. Whereas this also of serious consideration, just think about how much money has OpenAI, Anthropic, X, and others put into building those models. And if somebody goes and steals those models, that's a massive loss of IP. And that's a kind of, it really is, that's a fourth. And you will see in a media sometimes these accusations when some model comes out from some other place and they say, well, they build that model by actually kind of stealing how our model works and then accelerate their development. So these are like I said, four major areas.
And all of them make sense. Those are areas you would think they would have to deal with. Brad, let's take a break, Chandler, and we'll be right back.
At ORNL, national security is a mission powered by science. We safeguard critical infrastructure, develop isotopes for health and defense, and protect the digital frontiers of tomorrow. In a world of emerging threats, we deliver breakthroughs for America that protect lives, systems, and the future.
America runs on power, and for nuclear power, we need enriched uranium, but almost all of it comes from overseas. In 2019, the Trump administration took action, working with Centrus to build the first new American-owned uranium enrichment plant in 70 years. And now, Centrus is ready to expand to meet our nuclear power and military needs, free from dependence on foreign suppliers. Centrus, American technology built by American workers.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance technologies and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear, environmental, and clean energy fields.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
Josh Anderson is a Republican who has fought for families across Anderson County throughout his adult life. Josh is a farmer, a husband, and a father. For 4 generations, his family has lived in Anderson County. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Josh has served on the Anderson County Commission for 7 years and served as chairman for 3 years. Josh is a businessman who will put his experience to work for all of us. A supporter of term limits, Josh believes 2 terms as mayor is enough. Josh Anderson believes leadership starts with listening.
At ORNL, innovation starts with discovery. From the smallest particles to the most powerful computers, we explore the unknown to unlock what's possible. We lead in quantum science, artificial intelligence, and fusion energy, turning bold ideas into emerging technologies that meet American priorities. Because when discovery drives innovation, the future takes shape at ORNL.
So are we applying, welcome back, are we applying all the AI security, what's the word we were looking for earlier, defense security stuff to protect ourselves? Is that being applied? I understand the abyss, I understand you're at the leading edge of technology and we have major national and I just don't know how you do it because if you get quantum and you get on computing and you come at it, it's going to keep coming faster and faster and faster. So you're going to have to go faster and faster and faster.
We will.
And it's just, yeah, and you have the tools to do it more than most people, et cetera. So the question is, are businesses doing this as well? Does I'll make a silly analogy, but does McDonald's have to continually battle to keep Chick-fil-A out of its, you know what I'm saying? I mean, are corporate people facing the same kind of structures in AI, risk management?
So, there's no straight answer to this for following reasons. So we know people very closely interact with them from, for instance, Anthropic and OpenAI and Google DeepMind, and they're very good. People who work in AI security in these companies are top-notch. There's no question there. And they know what they are looking at, and they're trying to deploy those countermeasures or defenses and so on. There's no question there. However, the field is advancing so fast.
Yes.
The industry sometimes looks at a very narrow set of applications, and then the makers of AI have to address those kinds of domains the most, leaving holes possibly in other areas. That's just how it is. It's not a matter of them being negligent. It's just a matter of like you have so many resources, you have to focus on things that are. So for instance, today still the most popular, in public's mind, the most popular application of AI is probably large language models when they type questions into ChatGPT and gives them answers. Even though most people don't even probably realize that AI is deployed in so many other areas when they go to do eye exam and somebody's looking for like retinopathy or something like that. Well, there is a machine learning behind that machine detecting if the eye is degrading. There is in cyber defenses, something is determining if malware is in your email and blocks it. That's an AI behind it. So in a car, especially in the state-of-the-art cars and or airplanes, when something is looking to optimize how well the airplane is flying or engine is producing certain outputs and so on, there's a AI there too. So AI is far more broadly deployed. There's some things that are in people's eyes. From attackers' point of view, just like a cyber, I have to go back to this cyber mentality. Attackers are not looking to attack the hardest targets. They're looking to attack the weakest, least defended targets so they can go in and cause the most damage.
And how do they determine what the weakest areas are?
That's a craft of cyber offensive operations. There's things like advanced persistent threat, APT, which means that, cyber is really has inspired us so much in AI security field because you have the cyber domain and you have a computer science and then AI and AI security middle. We draw from both of these fields. So in cyberspace, advanced persistent threat, these are operators or entities that scout for vulnerabilities, just like in a battlefield. You have a reconnaissance and they're looking for holes. They're not going to go against the bunker. They're going to go against the bush that doesn't have anything behind it and go there and then patiently work their way through various different means. From AI point of view, in adversarial AI, in AI security, we say minimal change to maximum effect. In other words, you're trying to make the smallest changes to your inputs to AI that's going to have a maximum damaging effect where AI is going to fail. So it's really, the whole system is optimized like that. You're looking at the smallest, the least visible ways to cause the maximum effect. And the job of AI security researchers, us, I consider this one of the most challenging fields I know. Not because you have to be the biggest genius working in this field, it's that it's so much easier to defeat AI than it is to defend. And the new attack methods, I mean, we tested.
That's scary.
It is scary. And this is something that we do academically with my students. I do research in the area, like we do come up with new attacks so we can inform defenses better. So we try to see how, it's called red teaming. You come up with various different excellent attack strategies, then you test it against AI system, and then you use it to inform defense to say, here's how we get into your system, here's how you need to improve
So
it.
you've
and
got to imitate that. You've
Yes,
got to constantly be attacking your own system to find out where its weaknesses
Yes, exactly. And red teaming comes from either cyber or maybe even from physical security, I'm not even sure. But that really was the idea, is like, find the most capable people to get through something, and if they can get through something, that will illustrate or illuminate the holes, and then you're going to work to patch those consequences.
It's like the banks hire people to rob banks to see where see where the mistakes are and how they can get into the security system.
Yes, and Kevin Mitnick, the famous hacker, he was hired later by FBI and others to break into things, including banks, so they can see how to patch those. We do that, except that in AI, it's more difficult, and my team developed a tool called Photon where we do that. So there's an interesting thing. You can use AI to attack AI.
I would think so. So I've been asking that question for 5 shows.
So red team these days is considered state-of-the-art in AI security research. We don't consider it state-of-the-art. What we consider state-of-the-art is the AI against AI, where we develop a tool that can do that can look and scan for vulnerabilities and exploit them, and it can do much faster than humans. But that's also a scary proposition, because, like I said, state-of-the-art is red teaming, which means like humans going and exploring, that's too slow. AI can beat those humans in finding vulnerabilities. Sure. And that's something that is a bleeding edge of research, is trying to figure out how do we still mitigate threats knowing that AI can pose such a potent exploitation accelerator.
On your own side or on the other side?
On all sides. As a defender, you need to employ something like that so you can act faster than somebody who wants to take advantage of that would act.
You remember the old War Games movie back in '84 where he starts playing the computer and it doesn't realize it's a game and it wants to launch nuclear missiles, right? I mean, that's a very simplistic look at it, but I don't know.
It's not. We are in many areas here approaching the boundaries of science fiction, where what felt like science fiction, it's not anymore. So this tool that I was telling you about, I led this project at RNL with some brilliant colleagues, where we let AI optimize itself to find vulnerabilities, and it finding these vulnerabilities, starts exploiting them. Then we use that to create defense strategy. Looking at it, what's called how it converges to the most effective attack strategy, unbelievable. I mean, so fast, optimizing itself, and it starts with this like, I'm going to do all these different things, and then it arrives to these few small things it can do to break the AI system. It's kind of impressive and scary. So that's what I'm saying. It's almost have like a AI field because it's entirely automated. It scans and understands and identifies things, and then issues that does not have.
This is a little bit outside your specific area, but you obviously know a little bit about this. I saw yesterday, we talked about this in 2 of the other shows, and I saw an announcement yesterday, Amazon, that Amazon's cutting 18,000 jobs, or 32,000, and letting AI take over those jobs. Okay. I keep getting the argument back from AI people that, no, it'll be all right because they'll create more jobs than they let go. The math doesn't work on that for me. I mean, it doesn't work. I mean, you may get 18 new high-paying jobs to oversee AI that replaced 80 jobs. I mean, I still think it's a workforce reduction with AI. It's making things more efficient and doing more stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Are we seeing that in every area, all kinds of corporations and businesses?
Excellent question. This is something that concerns me because, like I said, I'm also a professor and I teach AI to students, and I've seen my classroom, it was either overpopulated and people like stepping down from the field because and then I've seen this last semester, my students for the first time cannot find jobs, because in the past, these are PhD master's level students who are at the edge of a technology and
in computer science.
In computer science, 2 years ago, they were all, I was writing them recommendations for companies in February, and the semester ends in end of April. Now they're sending me all, hey, is there somebody hiring, and these are super qualified people. So it concerns me for them because I've seen lots of that already.
Excellent example.
Unemployment effects, at least delayed employment effects. Two, it also sometimes this calculus if AI automate job is going to create new ones. Well, the calculus is not really to automate 100 jobs and replace them with 100 AI
That's
operators.
correct.
It's like
That's
automate
correct.
100 jobs and get two. On the other hand, I also think that in some instances it's a little bit exaggerated opinion about how much AI can automate those jobs, because there's certain things that AI still really cannot do well. I mean, I do believe this as a person who lives in the AI space. I think it's a little hyped. How much can AI do?
I think there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of hallucinations. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of like I'll say, give me a stock projection for the next 3 days or something like that. And they'll say, well, the stock market's closed tomorrow. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I'll say, no, it's not. And they'll go, oops, you're right, it isn't.
Yeah.
So they make a few
Yeah.
mistakes.
So it's a really an open problem. I really, as a citizen, hope that whoever is, I think that we need to pay a close attention to this balance of between massive job reduction and then job creation, developing the workforce, training workforce for the future. RNL is doing a really great job. So you had Dan on interview on the conversation here, and they have like a AI engineers who are doing like a support for science. So RNL has already started looking into these new kinds of roles, and his job is really support for us. He's not AI researcher. We are doing AI research. I think that's a good thing to do, is that if that's going to happen, this offset, then we really need to pay close attention. What are these new jobs that AI is going to create? So change into education practices, more focus on STEM. I don't know what's the answer, but it
Yeah.
is something that I think as an economy and society we do need to kind of look into.
Well, and a lot of what I do on the political side and some other stuff is to make sure funding goes into programs that's needed. I think Congressman Fleischman's done a good job of getting ORNL funding and working with Stephen to get stuff there. I just wonder if we're putting enough into it. Are we have good budgeting? Are we? And I know you can't complain or go, and that's not your job. But I mean, what areas can we build on? Sarah came up quick, So
The thing that I'm a little bit limited in a way that as much as we interact with, for instance, industry or academia from a research point of view and have a great relationships, I really don't know what's happening like in terms of workforce development
Sure.
training. The world I see, and that is RNL, and I say this because RNL can really in that sense serve as a model, and we are really seen as one of those, they called us government or country's brains. That's a big statement, I think, but still, I think the RNL is a really, really good model, has been for a long time.
Yeah.
From high school, community college programs, masters, PhDs, talent, training, mentoring, looking into tech skills of the future. We just need more of it. That's my impression. I don't know in terms of like where investments are going. Like I said, I really don't know how industry is approaching that, but from using RNL in this case, I really see it as a model of a future research. You're asking questions like, AI is moving so fast now, what about quantum? These are really hard things. I mean, the quantum is a really difficult field. You need to have a number of books on my bedstand reading them. I mean, it's a hard field to get into it. AI is too. We need to train now workforce for next 5 years, for 10 years. And all I can say is like RNL serves as a good model. Do we need more investment? Well, of course, as AI researcher, I would say, yes, we need more investment, give me more so we can do more. But from my point of view, I think we're doing well. We already have a really great support by the lab and our partners. And
it's interesting. I try to, and I don't word it right, but I try to think AI has a life of its own, whatever that means, okay? Now, I know we have to program and know it, but AI is meeting all these new challenges. It's growing in capacity, different programs and different things. I just think they're going to go faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we can keep up.
Mm-hmm.
That's my concern,
Yeah.
is that we
Yeah.
can keep up. And is it going to go and sit on the bench at halftime and not play anymore because we're behind and let us catch up, or is it going to keep going? So I guess we got to continually feed stuff into those programs that make it work. How many different AI programs are there in the world? Like thousands?
so
Just a guess.
we call them models,
Models.
and there are millions.
That's what I figured.
Now, if you look at the general families, there are a couple of major families of AI models. One are image recognition models, text processing, large language models, which most public knows about. These ChatGPTs, one, Gemini, Claude, and so on. These are all large language models. There are a few, maybe a dozen a major groups of these, and then there are variants of these that go into hundreds of thousands. Any university, any group can take one really sophisticated open source model, tune it better to do something specialized, and publish it. So there's a place called Hugging Face, which is like a global model clearinghouse repository. They have millions of models, or million models. I mean, it's and our concern is like, which one of these models are good, which ones are nefarious, which ones can do something that are like, can generate malware. But anyway, like I said,
how do you check 1 million models?
So that was the major driver for us developing this tool called Photon that can actually check those models fast.
Okay.
And this is not an easy problem. This is not a solved problem. We addressed for the needs that we see, and that is in our environment, researcher can bring a model, because many of these models are highly useful. I mean, they can be used to something that's very important for them, and they can run them. Well, our question is like, can we really safely use this model and deploy? And so we developed this tool that can check that. But again, more needs to be done. I mean, this is not, I'm saying, you're not solve all the problems, you solve the one that is at hand.
It's interesting. I was on a phone conference this morning with a bunch of investor friends and different things, and the question was, the market's kind of correcting all the time because a lot of people think everybody's over-invested in AI. I'm not sure that's possible. I mean, I don't think a company can afford to fall behind.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is always pushing the limits.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a few others that are Zuckerberg and some others, but there's like 4 or 5 big, we know the big box groups, whatever. They're just going to keep coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree.
Where's the danger? Where's the danger? I mean, I'm not going to singularity, but where's the danger in expanding the models beyond what security can work with? I mean, do we have a kind of a carefree, unlimited system where people are just exploring and launching new models of AI that's getting more and more difficult for researchers like you to keep up with?
So to answer that, I'm going to start with the statement I made earlier when you said about safety. I says, well, we are really into security and not safety. Okay. And I'll tell you first why I say this specifically.
Okay, yeah, we're here.
For years ago, so I'm a founder of the Kaiser, and for years ago, I really shaped Kaiser to go in the direction of security and not safety, because safety has lots of elements that are more into realm of social sciences, psychology, sociology, and even politics and all those kinds of things. Sure. I said, let's focus on hard, specific things that are difficult to solve, but we can work on them as technologists. Okay. Security is how can somebody break the model? Or how can one observe if model is capable of doing something harmful? Safety gets more into like impacts on humans and what can happen and so on. I'm not by any means discarding the safety area. It's important, but we don't focus on that. We are focusing on technical limitations or technical dangers coming out of the model or something.
I think
like
the safety issue isn't really your vision or your issue. I mean, the ramifications of that in an existential and emotional way can be unlimited.
Yes.
The bottom line is you need specific tasks.
Yes.
If we do the security right, the safety will probably take care of itself.
But within security realm, we really categorize our spectrum of interest to research, starting from very concrete things such as how can somebody break AI system where it doesn't perform its function, let's say serving cyber defense function, all the way, can this AI execute actions that can be highly dangerous for humans, such as how easy is to generate some kind of piece of code that can propagate across the network, that can be so resilient, that can bring critical networks down, that bringing these critical networks can cause economic, infrastructural, other kinds of harmful effects and so on. So we are looking all the way to super intelligent AI and how it can emerge and what kind of damage it can cause. And I can tell you more if you're interested about this true threat of superintelligence, because we are working with the world's leaders on problem of the threat from superintelligence. But we are also working on very concrete things, and such as, like I said, I have a cyber defense tool, it's AI-based. How can hackers now learn? Or how can hackers use AI to generate malicious software faster because they can? If you look at most recent surveys, I think one came out 2 days ago that says that 80% of the cyber professionals believe that the AI is going to create completely new frontiers in enabling hackers to be faster to develop AI, that let AI generate things that cannot be stopped. So that's a baseline threat.
Let's move to another area which I think is really security-wise one of the most important, and that's our electric grid. I mean, I think when we get hit or we get hurt, it's going to be Virginia goes dark, or the power doesn't work at Y12 or something. Those kind of defense fronts, I think, are priority for you, I would think, in your group.
Among other areas, yes. I don't work myself I do work with our DOE entities that are specifically focused on the grid. I'm focused a little bit on different areas, but I'm familiar with. I just recently came from a workshop related to that. This is the area where I would actually say that AI presents an incredible opportunity to enhance the security and stability of the grid. Because when you look into these kinds of operations that happen at the scale of Texas, which is the size of almost, I don't know what portion of Europe, like it's almost like a continent on its own. These are massive grids. And yes, they present a large threat or threat surface for attackers. Or two, in terms of operations and grid instability, when something goes wrong, it's very difficult to manually go figure out how to restore it back. So AI can play roles, and this is something we work already with our various different partners, is to use AI for better monitoring, better controls, better stabilization, better cyber threat identification, and so on. So I see that, I agree with you that these are things that need to be paid attention to, and I know that the DOE, of course, is the whole office that pays
And I think that's
attention.
the first level of safety for folks,
Yeah.
that when their
Yes.
lights go out and their heat
exactly.
goes out,
exactly.
safety's here, right?
And this is where robust, high-quality AI, I think, can play a significant role. And we recognize this, by the way. I'm not saying this. This is a good news. We are not like,
I understand.
and I say this is a energy, Department of Energy lab or labs. We don't dream about this. This is something that we are really actively trying to work on to create reliable. This is one of those things that are not in the public eye, that national labs are working on. That's developing robust, reliable AI that can operate at scale. Not LLMs, not the ones answering the questions to people, but like looking at the smart meters, looking at the fluctuations of the energy usage, or looking at the cyber threats and being able to identify. You remember I was telling you earlier about this advanced persistent threat.
Yes.
Sophisticated cyber actors are really, really sneaky. And it's very hard for human operators to detect that kind of sneaky behavior because it's designed to slide in smoothly because you're sitting at TVA looking at all the indicators and everything looks right. But a little blip occurs here, little blip occurs in some other facility, but that's actually all coordinated attack. This is where AI is very good to correlate these strange, anomalous behaviors and start identifying and saying we need to stop this. This I'm saying, this is a real
That's a good example.
AI security potential on the defense side. And I believe, this is not a science fiction talk like, oh, what happens if super intelligent AI goes and kills us all. No, this is something that we can very effectively actually deploy.
Well, we do a pretty good job of that ourselves. I think we can handle it. One other thing, let's talk about the food. Let's talk about food and migration. It's such a major impact on the human race. Is AI helping? I don't know anybody should be hungry now. We should be able to eliminate disease, do things. That may not be an AI question, but it seems like it. It seems like something that advanced could do analytical models and say, look, plant 3 seeds here, don't go to April here, do this. I think we can improve everything.
I can answer more on the medicine side.
Medicine's good.
Than food, because even though we do work in the ORNL a little bit related to bioenergy and biosupply and things like that, I cannot tell you more than what I read about yourself in magazines or something. But prior to, and this is my motivation to getting into AI security, prior to me working in the field I'm working right now, I was a principal investigator in a program with the Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay. They came to us because the Department of Veterans Affairs collected very large biobank data from veterans, million veterans, and health records, and they said, like, listen, we have a couple of critical problems. One is the early detection of certain cancers, like a prostate cancer, and like how to treat. 2 was cardiovascular disease, and 3rd one was probably the most severe one, was that of suicide prevention. And I work specifically on that kind of problem. And AI played a critical role with a significant impacts because we were able to train models that can look at so many different factors that a human mind can think of. Because you look at the historical data, you look into published literature, you train AI to look at the correlations between, out of all these 100 factors, which one are historically most likely to indicate that this person is at risk. And then what we developed, the project was called RichVet, and I need to give a shout out to lady Dr. Jody Trafton from VA Palo Alto, Stanford. developed a system that can look into all this data. It was very privacy preserving, protected, implemented by VA, but we designed it where AI can daily look across all the records, all the data, and highlight to suicide prevention line people that they should be reaching out to, calling, and it resulted in the savings of lives where the rate of suicide.
There seems to be a lot of people in AI that came out of the medical side.
Yes,
Gina and
yes,
others.
yes,
Chandler,
Gina,
give
yes.
us one more break before we go.
Yeah.
It's gone fast.
At ORNL, national security is a mission powered by science. We safeguard critical infrastructure, develop isotopes for health and defense, and protect the digital frontiers of tomorrow. In a world of emerging threats, we deliver breakthroughs for America that protect lives, systems, and the future.
America runs on power, and for nuclear power, we need enriched uranium, but almost all of it comes from overseas. In 2019, the Trump administration took action, working with Centrus to build the first new American-owned uranium enrichment plant in 70 years. And now, Centrus is ready to expand to meet our nuclear power and military needs, free from dependence on foreign suppliers. Centrus, American technology built by American workers.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance technologies and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear, environmental, and clean energy fields.
This is Joe Heckman, President of Waste Management at Energy Solutions. Nuclear power is on the rise. Energy Solutions is part of this transition and part of the solution, delivering comprehensive services and assets that support the entire nuclear life cycle. Energy Solutions is protecting and preserving the environment for generations to come.
Feeling overwhelmed with your business finances? At P&L Business Services, we handle all your bookkeeping, payroll, and tax needs. From federal tax returns to QuickBooks training, we've got you covered. With over 25 years of experience, we provide customized packages to fit your business. Focus on what you love most, building your business. Let us take care of the rest. Call 865-294-4792. P&L Business Services, empowering you to grow your business.
Josh Anderson is a Republican who has fought for families across Anderson County throughout his adult life. Josh is a farmer, a husband, and a father. For 4 generations, his family has lived in Anderson County. A graduate of the University of Tennessee, Josh has served on the Anderson County Commission for 7 years and served as chairman for 3 years. Josh is a businessman who will put his experience to work for all of us. A supporter of term limits, Josh believes 2 terms as mayor is enough. Josh Anderson believes leadership starts with listening.
At ORNL, innovation starts with discovery. From the smallest particles to the most powerful computers, we explore the unknown to unlock what's possible. We lead in quantum science, artificial intelligence, and fusion energy, turning bold ideas into emerging technologies that meet American priorities. Because when discovery drives innovation, the future takes shape at ORNL.
We got 5 minutes left. Just an outstanding show. We're learning about security and risks and all the different players on the field and what we're trying to do. So we're going to give Edmon a few minutes to talk a little bit more about medical and other things.
Yeah, so I'll just finish up the story. So we developed very effective algorithm that had a direct impacts, positive impacts on saving human lives. Program was called RichVat. Another example where does make a major difference is drug discovery. So historically, the drug discovery process would take years. Humans would look into, read papers and try to figure out which molecule bonds to another molecule, which ones are the best targets for drugs and so on. It takes a very manual process. AI can do this now in a matter of days, weeks, not even months. Okay, so that's a major, major accelerator for very important things. However, if AI can develop a medicine, a drug, it can also develop a chemical weapon, and that's a known concern. And so my driver for AI security came from first this work with Veterans Affairs. We felt such a responsibility guarding and protecting this data, but then you develop the model, and the question was, what somebody gets hold of this model, can they actually steal all the super sensitive human data about their lives and psychological burdens and all those things? So that's what one driver to like, let's invent techniques to protect models from being exploited. Two, can AI be used to accelerate development of chemical, biological things and so on? And that was another thing, is how do we monitor and understand and prevent these misuses as such? That really, these were very practical drivers that led to creation
I don't think AI can weigh the impact of the moral. And they want to succeed in the application. They don't know that what it's going to be used for, or how it's going to be used. But
no.
And what do you think at this point? What do you think? Can AI build those kind of things?
Not A to Z, but AI can definitely be used as a very effective tool. It's like, this whole ethics story about a knife. You can cut the bread, or you can kill a person with it, or hurt a person with it. So AI is a very effective tool. Our job, like I said, we really stay away from these safety elements, not because we don't care, but because they involve ethicists and sociologists and psychologists. We are looking into more of, assuming the AI is a very effective tool, how do we protect it from being misused by some other means? If something is very effective, come up with all different ways to make it not go into wrong hands, or know if it's being exploited, or if it's used.
But do you own it? I mean, it's like we want to make sure they don't exploit our AI. Well, what if it's their AI?
I think it's a global challenge. That's why I keep going back to like a cyber stuff. We don't know all the AI. We don't know all the most sophisticated AI. It's a globally developed capability. And so that's something that is not in our, I would say, in our hands to control. We are developing techniques for understanding and control.
How many world-class AI researchers, how many people would you say are above the road? Is there a top 20 or top 50?
I mean, there is a very different tiers of top AI researchers, and there's also top subdomains. I would count top AI researchers, really game changers, in hundreds. Okay, at most. Okay. I would say that there are thousands of top-notch AI researchers, but who are more focused on like industrial applications and so on. All the universities are producing top-notch students. They go straight to companies, and many of them become really, really strong. And then there's a handful of people who are real visionaries and so on.
And are we expanding the technology from what exists, or are we finding new programs and new ways to do things? Are we making the car go faster, or are we making different kinds of cars?
Two tracks. One track is there's this popular AI development that is, let's build bigger, better LLMs that can do reason better, that agents can do things better. That's very much driven by the popular demand, but also kind of hype also created by those things. And then there's a little bit of track that is not followed by the public, and that is the hardcore AI research that has a life on its own and is happening. And I think that major progress is going to happen on the side track in AI research. We at ORNL, my lab, is particularly focused like edge AI. We don't look into big LLMs. We look into AI that is so small that can fit into very small processors and yet be extremely powerful. For instance, that's our specialty. There's others who are looking what's
that's
called...
where the danger is. You can see the big guy coming, right?
Well, in our case, we're not looking at that as a danger. We're looking at more of a, from a defense point of view. Think about it, you can put into energy systems small AI that can look for like cyber threats and things like that and so on. And then there's many other areas, that of research that are like that. They're a little bit more in shadows or off the beaten path or off the spotlight, but they're still very strong and very important.
We've got 20 seconds. Tell me what's next in the AI world. What's it going to be like in 10 years?
I will tell you, I don't know what's going to be in 10 years, but in the next few years, there's going to be a shift away from LLMs towards focus of alternative, different, next generation AI models and modalities of their use.
I really appreciate you coming on. I
Thank
learned
you.
a lot. I really
Thank
did.
you.
It was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you, folks, for watching. We'll see you next Thursday.